Yeah, so I think I can speak to that on a couple different levels. One is within the Hawaii economy and our immediate local competition, which, although we like to say that nobody else makes a vegan banana ice cream commercially, as a business, I would still categorize any smoothie shop from Lani Kai Juice to Leahi Health to Jamba Juice. Any place that sells acai bowls directly competes against us. And I'm actually a frequent customer at a lot of our competitors. I'm a fan of healthy, fresh food from the islands. And one of our missions is to make that more accessible for the youth here. So anybody that's helping to contribute to that mission is ultimately people that I can share knowledge with and gain knowledge from. So you'll find me frequenting Leahi Health and a whole other host of places very often, and I'd say it's a pretty friendly competition.
So with Important Media, which is one of the world's biggest sustainability media companies, probably the third biggest by traffic, we have a couple of main competitors. Green Tech Media is probably the other one that most people think of. Clean Technica and Green Tech Media are the two real clean tech focused websites. So Green Tech Media is, I'd say they're a competitor. They do some very different things. They do more events, we do more online stuff. We do have a relationship with them, we talk with them, we occasionally trade stories back and forth. It's pretty friendly. So the thing is, in the sustainability community, we're all kind of in this together. We did have one other media company try to poach off some of our talent at one point, and I started getting these emails, so-and-so is offering me this, so-and-so is offering me this. And so I had to go talk to them, and I addressed it with their CEO. And that was a fascinating moment where their CEO had said, hey, go find writers to one of their salespeople. And the salesperson got a little overambitious and started basically like reaching out without checking in with the other companies. And it's a small space, so you don't necessarily do that to each other. So once I had checked in with their CEO and said, hey, this is not necessarily kosher, you don't see me coming and trying to steal your talent, like let's just be cool about this. She was 100% fine with it, and she went and she talked to her salesperson. She CC'd me and apologized and said, it's cool, we're not trying to X, Y, and Z. So I think that's just a pretty good example of the sustainability marketplace and the cool people who are working in it.
I'm always aware of the competition, and I think that is very important to know what the market is like. So we had one major competitor, then another one came on board, and we're always friendly with the competitors. And if there's something that we didn't want to do or couldn't do, we would contact one of them, and so it was friendly. We actually ended up buying out that major competitor, at least his kiosk side. And then the other one we know pretty well, and so it's all friendly, and it's just we don't market against our competitors. We don't go in there and try to steal an account away or whatever. If someone calls us and asks, we're always like, well, if you're happy with them, stay with them, But we're not, and I think that's generally true of people in Hawaii. People aren't just as cutthroat as in other places.
Yeah, so again, once we made the app, then we had a bunch of competition. We were not the only app on the iTunes store. We were able to rise to number one through some very creative tactics, which I can get into later. But I would say there were a lot of copycats. So people would copy new features that we would release. They would copy kind of the UI UX that we had. We did not. We spoke to a couple of our competitors, but everyone was really kind of closed door because it was such a crazy time back then. The iPhone literally had just been released. The store, had nothing in terms of the amount of apps it had on at the time. And we were one of the top, I'd say, I'd say we were one of the first 20 or 30 wine apps on the store. By the time we became number one, there were over 100. And then, of course, it just went exponentially crazy after that. But we didn't talk to our competition. What we did do is we started collaborating with apps that were complementary to us. So part of one of our growth hacks was there's always like a more button on an app, and it says like, if you like this app, you'll also like these apps. And so we started doing trades with other apps that were complementary. So there was one that was like a cooking app that we thought was kind of cool. There were a few other ones kind of in the space, but not direct competition, right? So if they downloaded our app, it wouldn't mean that they wouldn't download this cooking app. So we did a lot of trades like that, which was really cool to collaborate and learn from some of their kind of growth hacks that they were doing. And then, kind of talking to a few like the mixology applications, because we were just focused on wine for the app. So we got to talk to a lot of mixology type cocktail type apps and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say in terms of direct competition, not necessarily. We did get the cease and desist letter from Robert Parker. We also got a letter from Gary Vaynerchuk trying to buy our app for like $150,000 at the time, which we, obviously said no to because it was worth way more than that.
So competition is interesting, I think, especially in a small market like Hawaii, where it's relatively, there is competition that's showing up. And actually just last night I was having drinks with a group that does very similar type things that we do, and we've been trying to figure out how to collaborate, but at the same time we are still competing because there are a lot of specific similarities with what we do. And so there's one thing where we were able to pick up an account that they were hoping that they were going to be able to pick up, and it's causing some friction. And it's kind of figuring that out, like competition's good, but it's kind of that whole crabs in a bucket type thing. Really at the end of the day, what we're trying to compete with is food coming in from outside of Hawaii, and how do we all work together to make this happen? And it's not easy. And people love to use the word collaborate, but really defining what that means and how that works, and it's getting past egos, and it's also ensuring that your own individual business is being taken care of and you're able to survive, but then also looking beyond just yourself and what you're trying to do, and seeing how's one thing affect another group, and that's tough to do because we are competing, and this just happens in a lot of different there's nonprofits getting involved doing similar type things, bringing in public money, there's state getting involved with different projects. So it's all there's a lot of activity happening, and it's all around supporting the farms, and hopefully there's a bigger vision that everybody's kind of looking at and is able to keep that clear.
So there's this really great soap company on the Big Island called Kona Soap, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, they're great people, and we know each other, and we sometimes will, email in, different things about ingredients or whatever, but they're the only soap company that I know of that does the same process that I do. We choose not to put any chemical at all, not even a drop of chemical into our pots and pans, because we don't want to contaminate anything. There are some companies that make natural soap, but they also make soap with chemicals. But this one soap company in Kona, they're awesome, and we have a great relationship. And the thing is we're sort of like nature brothers and sisters. And I honor them because of their values, and they honor me because of my values, and that's how the relationship is.
I want to say I don't. I mean, everybody has competition. I'm not saying I don't, I'm just saying I have more of a niche market. So like, again, what I do is I try to find small companies on outer islands and bring them here to Oahu, where I can expand them to bigger sales and a bigger market. Now, there's not too many people that I can really think of that are doing that, so especially with farmers directly. So competition, not too much for the things I do. Obviously, I could say Mauna Loa is a competitor because they're like the biggest MacNut name, and I'm just a really small MacNut name. But I go after a different niche. I'm going after a different market. So again, if I find competition, I just make buddies. Hey, what are you doing? Where are you selling at? What were you making this at? What are you doing? And I'll just ask them questions till they don't want to talk anymore, you know, and figure out what they're doing.
My relationship with my competition, I know who they are. I've never personally met any of them, but I would be open to talking to them about what they went through, what are some of the challenges they're facing. I don't know how open they would be to talking to me about that. And then I actually just found out a school I was trying to partner with is actually has a contract with a school in Korea that I'm about to contract with. So I'm kind of taking their contract, which is a little bit awkward because I was just in their office like 2 months ago saying, hey, I think we could really partner, and they didn't want to. So I don't really feel bad now. But